The audience hushed, sensing something was off. A woman in a faded floral dress and scuffed shoes stood on the grand stage of the city's prestigious music hall. Nervously clutching the microphone, her hands trembled, her eyes flicked toward the orchestra pit. The maestro stood with arms crossed, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. He had laughed when he saw her name on the roster. Surely, this must be a mistake, he'd said earlier that afternoon. She looks like she wandered in from the market, not into an audition. But there she stood. Evelyn Carter was a 47-year-old housekeeper from the outskirts of town. Her days were spent scrubbing tiles, folding linen, and singing quietly to herself while mopping marble floors in grand homes she'd never live in. Music had been her companion for as long as she could remember. World she entered when life's burdens became too heavy. She never trained at a conservatory, never read sheet music fluently. But she had a gift, one nurtured in silence and solitude. Her daughter, Lily, 14 and fiercely loyal, had secretly filmed her mother singing in the kitchen and uploaded the video online. "The world needs to hear you," Lily had said. Days later, Evelyn received an unexpected call inviting her to audition for the regional music showcaser platform reserved for the elite. She thought it was a prank, but when she saw her name on the official roster, reality struck. She nearly declined, but Lily's hopeful eyes made her pause. "Please, Mum," she whispered, "do this for you. For once." Evelyn arrived at the hall with a thrifted dress and borrowed shoes. Backstage, other performers eyed her with thinly veiled amusement. She was too plain, too ordinary. When the maestro first saw her, he chuckled. "You'll be singing Nes Dorma, correct?" he asked mockingly. She nodded. "Puccini, bold choice." His sarcasm stung, but she didn't respond. She had spent months learning every note, every breath. She knew the aria not as a scholar, but as someone who had lived its aching desperation. When the time came, Evelyn stepped into the spotlight. The lights warmed her face, but her heart pounded like a war drum. The room seemed impossibly large. She inhaled deeply. And then, she sang. From the first note, time seemed to stop. Her voice wasn't trained in the technical sense, but it was soaked in life, raw, rich, and devastatingly beautiful. The notes didn't just soar, they wept, pleaded, and healed. Audience members leaned forward, caught in a trance. Even the maestro's smirk faded into disbelief, then awe. His baton lowered as his eyes widened. The final crescendo shattered every doubt in the room. The last note hung in the air like a blessing. Silence followed, thick and holy. Then, a single clap. Then another. And then the hall erupted in applause. Rising like a tidal wave, people stood, some with tears in their eyes. The same people who had scoffed now cheered. The maestro stood slowly, his face unreadable, and began to clap slow, deliberate, humbled. Backstage, Evelyn broke down. Not because of the ovation, but because, for the first time in her life, she had allowed herself to be seen. She wasn't just a housekeeper, or a widow, or a struggling mother. She was an artist. She was enough. The video of her performance went viral. Invitations came in from across the globe, but Evelyn didn't change. She still cleaned houses on weekends. She still sang while doing dishes. But now, she knew who she was, and so did the world. Message: greatness isn't reserved for the polished or privileged. Sometimes, it lives in the quiet corners of ordinary lives, waiting, just waiting, to be heard.